Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. Sorry for being a tad late. What we're going to do is we're going to cover great topics for 5G related companies and tech, but I'm wondering if people who are here, can anyone, if you can hear me okay, can you raise your hand if you can hear me okay? Awesome. Thanks, Doug, Nada, Lowell, Ralph, James. Awesome people. Thank you very, very much. What we're going to do next is we're going to share our screen because sharing is caring and we share because we care. So please let me know. I'm trying to, one second. Can you see the webinar deck for September 9th? Raise your hand. 5, 6 people raise their hand. Awesome. 7 people. Amazing. So we're gonna get started right away. So basically, let's just get right to it. And what we're going to do is what we're going to do basically, if you can see the slides, what we're going to do is cover what is R&D funding and non-dilutive funding. Afterwards, we're going to go after specific topics that we found for 5G and related industries, and then how does Eagle Point work and how we can maximize your chances of winning. So that's me. The QR code, you can scan it. You can even book a call right now, scan it, and schedule a time to meet together. You'll either meet me or my colleague Sasha. And what we're going to do is discuss topics that we already went over. Now, basically, let's just get right to it. We're going to cover what is R&D funding, how do you get up to $30 million in investment in sales for 5G tech, and how does Eagle Point funding gets companies to maximize their awards. So what is R&D and non-dilutive funding? The R&D budget for 2021 is going to be eventually $142 billion. We're still waiting in October what's going to be the budget for 2022. And out of that budget, about 30 to 60 billion dollars is going to go to private businesses and industries, the people who are here right now. So if you're a CEO, if you're a founder, the potential market is about $30 billion. Now, a lot of people don't know the differences between R&D research and grants from the government compared to funding in the private sector. So when you get a research grant from the government, you don't share equity, there's no interference. You keep the IP rights of what you already have, of course, but even if you develop new intellectual property as a part of the research funds that you got, you still own the IP. So this is something that's critical in industry. And if you have specific questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A or chat. And afterwards, you will work with agencies like DARPA, the DoD, NASA, the Department of Homeland Security. And a lot of these contracts are built in a way that it moves from a research grant to an actual contract. So there's a follow-on sales cycle and process that happens afterwards, and the budget is stable. A lot of agencies pay you by invoice, or they just give you based on your milestones. But if you were awarded, that means the budget is already there. And that's a huge reason we tell companies you have to apply before the end of the year, because if you haven't been awarded the research grants for the budget of this year, then it has to go to other companies. They have to finish the budget before the end of the year. Otherwise, they'll get less for next year. So if you're not applying, there's 5,500 companies who are going to get awarded about $3 billion by the end of the year. So even if it's not a major priority, even if this is something that you want to do in 6 months, it's still something that is worth doing. So you get the funds and you develop afterwards. Small business funding is a budget that's allocated for companies that works by phases. So proof of concepts can be 50 to 250K for a basic proof your idea can work. Prototype, meaning phase 2, can be up to $1.6 million. Develop them for about 24 months. And phase 3 are things that move from the prototype stage to actual commercialization, to actual sales with an agency, with a client. So there's a budget and cap and intention to get you moving from basic development all the way to sales. Now, the $3 billion are only about 3% of the research budget. And you have questions, again, Q&A chat, happy to answer. But the entire budget out of the $60 billion is It's available in continuous funding, awards of multi-million dollars, and it's broad. Hence, we've seen companies that win from very concept stages that is just an idea and it's just the beginning, to companies that just needed the final stage of development, to other companies that used the research grants as a way to sell to the federal agencies that they're working with. And you can see that in the budget. So you don't have to lose money on the development. You actually get paid to develop a solution where if your engineering staff is working on it, their salaries on the time that they're working on gets allocated. You can work with subcontractors. We can even help you find prime contractors if you're a sub and vice versa. You can buy instruments, materials, facilities, and you can factor profits in the budget, and we help you with the budget as well. It depends on the agency, depends on the project. You can get 7 to 14%, depends as well. So let's just take a look. There's granting agency. Here, take money, develop something that is critical for the industry in the US. And there's agencies that want to become a client afterwards. And we're going to talk about this, how the actual development process becomes a sales process and investment process. So contracting agencies are going to be able to tell you what are going to be some of the buying terms, what is the final product that they're looking for. We're going to discuss one from the Army today. They're going to actually negotiate on the contract. So there is a step-by-step process that you're not only developing the relationship, you're not just getting funds to advance your tech, you're also building the client at the end of the rainbow there. Agencies that just want you to develop your tech and advance it in the US are stuff like the DoD, the National Science Foundation, Transportation, Commerce, NOAA, Department of Energy, Environmental Protection Agency, Agriculture, and more. NASA can be some of that even if they don't become a client, but also agencies that actually want to be a buyer at the end. DoD, Navy, DARPA, Homeland Security, NASA, AFWERX, all of these are agencies that have a procurement process in mind while working with you. So even if you don't get, let's say, $5 million on the project, you still develop a relationship with the agency, with a potential end customer that we can also help you find. So these are things to place in mind when it comes to strategy. What we saw over time in our data on getting millions of dollars in hundreds of companies, the time to money is similar to a Series A round. The ROI on investment is going to be similar. It's just going to be equity free compared to an A round. The R&D process, the development of the product leads to the sales channel afterwards, because if somebody from the Air Force, if somebody from DARPA, if somebody from NASA has to decide who the person that they want to set up a bid that they're going to pay billions of dollars to or millions of dollars, it's going to be a person that they were involved in the development process of a product that they need. So this is something that's critical. Never look at an R&D project just as the $750,000 that I'm going to get in the next 6 months. It is, how does this help me scale the company, actually get these amazing agencies as a client? Part two, let's talk about how do you actually get $30 million in investment in sales for 5G companies by leveraging federal R&D programs. So our goal in the first 18 months of working with you is helping you raise up to $1.5 million, $1.6 million, $1.5 million, and we want to get you in the lifetime of working together to $30 million in total funding. Now that means investments, that means sales, that means contracts. This is how the compass, we decide whether we should or should not work with a company. Do we think your tech is relevant or not, based on that criteria? You might be an amazing company, but we don't think we can get you at least $50,000. It's not work for us. We turned down many clients that had the funds to work with us, but not the tech. So let's talk about funds that are available only for small businesses. So small business awards are locked in budgets for US-based small businesses that have a majority ownership in the US, meaning citizens or green card holders. B, your company is less than 500 people. And C, the funds that you're going to get for development are going to be used in the US. It's totally fine if you have R&D that's happening outside the US, in Canada or in other countries. But what they want to know is, if we're going to give you, through Eagle Point, $5 million on this research project, how much of that 5 is going to actually get developed in the US? That's the thing, because they want to incentivize US-based startups. Now, what we saw, and this is the Department of Energy, companies that won SBIR funding doubled their chances of getting private sector funding afterwards. And we're going to talk about 5G opportunities soon, and the recording is going to be available afterwards. This is a stat that you need to know. The Department of Energy saw that easier for you to raise outside funds if you have SBIR funding, and it actually makes sense because you're the person who's been vetted by federal agencies way more deeper on the technical merit. So when you're talking to investors, your technical merit and end client has already been vetted compared to other companies. Let's take a look at the program from the Air Force that we actually help companies get to $30 million in both finding the investors and the end client and the actual application. So what the Air Force is saying here, tactical financing near term, if it's only for the defense contractors, we'll match 1-to-1. We're going to give you up to 1.7 million, go find 1.7 from the private sector. And that could be in sales, that can be investments, pre-sales, or whatever. The same thing for dual use, meaning we can use it both in the agency and the outside world. Strategic financing, that could be 1-to-2, meaning every dollar we put in, another 2 can be brought in as well. And this session is going to be recorded, so people who attended can actually get the link afterwards. And if you ask, you can also get the deck. If you're building something that's dual use, a technology that could be used both for the agency and the private sector in sales, in commercialization, they'll do 1-to-2. So that means that can pretty much get up to $60 million. Realistically, we think it's worth for you to aim for about 30, because $15 million is going to come from the agency. Another 15 we need to help you come up in investments or sales. Now, let's take a look at funding that's coming from agencies that are open right now, and some of them we're going to discuss. Department of Energy, we just closed. National Science Foundation has opened 5 days ago. Department of Defense, NASA is opening in November. AFWERX is opening again in November, December. So we see that phase 1 is up to 250K, prototypes anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million. Extended phases of additional funding can be up to $1.5 million. So in total, match funding as a whole, you can get up to 4.6, 4, $3.5 million from very basic stages of development. This is where the Series A round comes up. Overview, we take a look at the engagement and kind of lifetime earnings that a company can have with us, from 50K all the way to $60 million. And we're going to go over some case studies as well. Richard is asking, all of these funds for R&D only or also for service providers and development of 5G or other wireless technologies? So it is R&D specifically, but some agencies have the ability to take the prototype that you'll build for them and actually use that to become a client afterwards. So the funds that we're going to help you get are going to be for research and development, but they lead to an actual procurement and actually use of services or leasing a technology or using you as a consultant. Now, it's not going to be for deployment of 5G. If you're saying, I want to create a stronger 5G network in Nevada, R&D programs here are not going to help you there. That's the type of stuff that we're saying. If you have, we're going to talk about the topics, but you have better algorithm architectures, processors that you're able to generate better outcomes, lower power usage, higher range. These are things that they want to develop. And then afterwards, after development, then they want to also fund you in deployment. So what do you need to require to actually get those? A, you need an awarded research project. That's where we help you find and apply. Successful development means that you've got the funds, you've developed and you actually delivered. If you said that you're going to be able to build 5G on the moon of Saturn and you didn't do it, you're not going to be able to move forward. Match funding, meaning to get up to $30 million, you need help with the investors or sales. It's stuff that we're very much happy to help, and we do help. Dual use sole source product develop, meaning that this is something that could be used, this is something that could be sold, and not just, oh, it's a nice concept idea. I think we just need to develop. These agencies are looking at R&D contracts as built-in procurement. Let's take a look at timelines before we go deeper into agencies. So Department of Homeland Security is opening again in November. That's right around the corner. NIST is also opening in January. NOAA, October. Department of Defense is open now. We're going to talk about specific topics here. Department of Energy, NASA is opening again. NASA is opening again in November. National Science Foundation is open now. Department of Agriculture, you just missed it. So if you have any questions or topics, feel free to send them in the chat or Q&A. So let's talk about some case studies. One company, that's a company that worked with us, drone software company, phase 2, then $6 million, and then now working on the procurement contract. A Hermes company just got $30 million for their turbine engines. A company that worked with NASA, direct to phase 2, moved from, that's actually Hermes, apologies. track labs that work with NASA, phase 125K, then they got a phase 2, and then they license their developed software for $3 million. Higher ground, NASA phase 1, phase 2, and then $6.9 million with NASA and Department of Homeland Security funding. So upcoming opportunities, we have the Army Applications Lab. The Army Applications Lab has autonomous platform and data visualization, but the cool thing is here in sensing and communication and networks. So if you're able to build within 5G the entire spectrum of the industry, whether it's the software, whether it's the hardware, whether it's the actual installations, these are things that are interesting for them. And it has up to $2 million in funding. Evaluation time is usually 30 to 60 days. The cool thing that we like about the Army Applications Lab, they're very happy in joining the events that we do to try and help with matchmaking and trying to find the end customer. But if you get awarded, and even if they don't have funding, they want to introduce you to the end customer at the end there. So you already have the client built in. National Science Foundation just opened. It opened on September 4th. Phase 1, 250K, phase 2, 750,000. What are they looking for? Wireless technologies. So within wireless devices and components, wireless systems, other wireless technologies, what they are looking for is high data rates, low cost, and that support wide variety of applications and services. For mobility, if you're able to reduce latency, longer battery life, device and subsystems, increase data throughout rates and cell density, and more. So they are looking for on-panel DC-AC converters, ability of all the members of the public to access spectrum-related services. If you have something that is significantly lower cost, can bring in deployment across different areas in the US, also something that is extremely interesting to them. They're looking for new antenna concepts. They welcome proposals involving modulation, demodulation techniques for signal generation. So these are all things that are relevant for you as 5G companies that are here. So if you have questions, feel free to ask me. Right now, I'd be more than happy to answer. Let's talk about the Department of Defense. Also, open now. They open their pre-release. All the topics are available for Q&A to figure out what's right there for you. So pre-release is August 25th. That already happened. Submission opens. Two things happen when a submission opens. One, you can no longer ask questions. You can't ask the program officer, is this tech relevant? You can't ask the program officer if this is something that's relevant for them. On September 23rd, there's no more questions asked. So that's why we tell companies, we have a submission deadline, an internal submission deadline of September 16th, because meaning a company that wants to work with us for the DoD have to pretty much start working with us around September 16th, because afterwards, it's hard for us to contact these people, see what they're looking for, and get a better idea. How do you tailor the proposal to what they're looking for? So that's the general on DoD. Let's talk about the actual one of the opportunities that is available. Phase 1 up to 150,000, phase 2 up to 1.1 million in 27 months. Now they're looking for millimeter waves and micro Doppler radars for UAV detection, classification, and tracking. So what they're saying here on phase 1, they're actually looking for radar simulation testbed for detection, classification, and tracking of small UAVs. Determine system architecture and radar system parameters. Determine if the radar system hardware specifications. Perform study between the system size, architecture, frequency, antenna structure, range to be able to perform that. That's phase 1. What are they looking from you when you actually develop a full prototype for them? Improve prototype radar design based on your phase 1 and build a hardware prototype based on the improved design to realize low power MMWs and NEMOs radar testbed for detection and classification. Specifically, they're looking for detection at ranges of up to 1 kilometer, altitudes between 10 to 400 feet, and radial speeds between 2 to 30 meters per second. Government-defined complex terrain. So they want you to see the training data. They want you to be able to reach certainty of discovery within 95% accuracy. So they want you to be able to find birds as well. So these are all things that are interesting and critical for them. Phase 3, they want to see you being able to reach up to 3 kilometers. That's a bit challenging, but detection, classification, traction, and tracking. What this shows you is they're actually looking for buying the product at the end there. So phase 3 efforts will include ruggedizing the radar package, and further capability enhancements such as extending detection ranges. So this could be used for detecting and classifying and shooting UAVs in civilian applications. Richard is asking, does access to these grants require following a procurement model such as a number GSA registration, or is this separate from the procurement process? It's separate. So GSA registration would happen either in the middle or phase 3. However, for the research project, you don't need this. So you do need a cage code, you do need a DUNS number, things that we help you and guide you to get, but the GSA part only happens afterwards. You can engage with this earlier. Let's talk about DARPA. So far, we talked about National Science Foundation, we talked about the DoD, we talked about the Army Applications Lab. DARPA, specifically these topics here, are up to $1 million in 12 months of development. Now, specifically within the MTO, they're looking for advanced RF and UIR filters and related front-end components, low power electronics, high power microwave technologies, microsystem for RF or optical transceivers. It depends if you have them both, mixed signal electronics and signal process. So this is something that has a pretty close deadline. I highly recommend that if you have questions, reach out, scan the QR code in the bottom, or talk to us, because this is something that's relevant. For us on this DoD cycle, August 25th, the pre-release. It already happened. It's already open in the public domain. It officially opens, meaning when you can actually submit on the first day, September 23rd. It closes on October 22nd. Our Eagle Point deadline is September 13th to September 16th. We need this time to understand your technology. What is the component? How do we structure? How are we going to pitch your phase 1 and phase 2 and help you write it so your chances of winning are higher? So part 3, what do we actually do? I want you to take a look at the amount of companies that have won with us, from facial recognition AI, data management, nanotube, carbon nanotube technologies, advanced materials, wearable fabrics, agriculture insights, and more. Now, these are also companies that have won with us, and we're happy to actually get on interviews and record. Log into YouTube and look for Eagle Point Funding. You'll see these companies describe what it was like to be working with us. So if you get the deck afterwards, you can just press the logo and you see these companies that winning either multiple awards, one huge award to be able to scale the company and actually grow dramatically. Now, success rates about 3.6 times the industry rate when you take a look per cycle. We took a look at the companies that we applied from the last cycle, how many of them won and what did they win, and we have about 3.6 the win rate. That means that if our entire philosophy is let's go after as many proposals as possible, let's go after as many relevant funding opportunities that are for you and not just one, your chances of actually winning go way up. And if you take a look at it like dating, if you take a look at it like investments, you don't speak with one person and you don't go on one date. You go on several with the most relevant people until you're able to find the best fitting solution. Now, take a look at the sheer amount of proposals for funding agencies that we've had in the last year. Hundreds of companies and pretty much close to thousands of applications just from the ones that we are able to see here. Average companies are able to submit about 6 on average. Good companies that are very committed to the process will do way more. You can see here multiple companies that do dozens. 30, 20s companies are able to do significant amounts of funding. Take a look here. Average time to submission, 30 days. It's nothing. From the moment we engage to the actual day that we submitted for you. So about 30 days, that gives us just about enough right now at the beginning of October. This is critical. Our winning companies usually win on average after they've submitted 3 proposals. And what we help you exactly is we want to help you identify, apply, and win R&D, multiple R&D funding opportunities. And that means navigate and find the potential partners within the agency, also find the investors and secure private sector funding, including the end customer and sales. So how do you know if you can win? 1, is your tech innovative? If you're going to get on a call with me or my colleagues, we're going to ask you, tell me about your tech. What do you do? How is it better than what's existing right now with your competitors? How is that better compared to what the industry right now has? Can your R&D team actually perform this and actually be able to get a product, and will it be commercially viable? Do you know? And these are stuff we work with companies, we help in the strategies, we help the pitch to these agencies or investors or clients. But what we do is help you craft how your idea becomes an actual sellable product. These are criteria to win. The way to win it is you apply for multiple funding opportunities in a way that you understand the system and what they are looking for. What you want to pitch to them and what you want to sell to them isn't necessarily at the moment perfectly aligned with what they're trying to do. So if they're looking for an apple, you need to A, understand that they're looking for an apple, and B, being able to persuade them that your green apple is the one to go after. Some agencies are looking for a mango, and that is also something that you have to explain to them, why the fact that they looked for an apple, they actually needed a mango. So apologies for the fruit references, but it's the good way to understand it. And your tech has a story, your company has an amazing journey that they've done. If the company isn't able to present themselves as an amazing one, if you're not showing an exciting story, why should the person on the other side that has to go through hundreds of these, why should they get excited and push you to the next stage? And kind of final, engage in multi-submission strategy. So Deep Tech Showcase, that's our sister company that helps with marketing and business development, customer discovery, investors, partnership, primes. We help you family use from Air Force stakeholders, for example, raise match funding, commercialization funding, raise match funding for TACFI, STRATFI, and additional phase 3 programs. What do you get by working with us? We assign a team of grant consultants with one point of contact. You work with one person and a team of business development and marketing professionals to help you find the customers, reach out to them, do the introductions, and follow up till the point that you can speak to them and start negotiating. We're going to build a step-by-step strategy to actually do that. And literally, we will never cap you at amount of grant submissions to go after. So we've had clients that have done 30 in the first 18 months of working with us. Other clients have done 10. Because we have a flat fee and a success fee, we never limit you on the amount of proposals we're going to go after. And we're going to see that companies on average are going to pitch 5 to 10. We're going to get your company pitching in front of relevant investors, partnerships, and federal stakeholders. And we're going to help you find private sector, public sector, and corporate partnerships and funding. About us, we've been around since the 1990s, end of 1990s. That wasn't a great generation, but still, when billions of dollars. Within the group, we have hundreds of active clients and hundreds of in-house professionals. Every single grant consultant, the person you're speaking with at the Eagle Point Funding Group, is a person working full-time within us. We outsource zero of the work outwards when it comes to actually getting you awarded and granted. Steve has asked, I went to Cali and there are no options to engage before September 16th. So Steve or anybody else who's looking to set up a call, you can scan the QR code and talk to us. But essentially, if you can't find the relevant time, email me at yoav@eaglepointfunding.com or call me. If I'm not on the call, I'd be happy to answer. And basically, let's see if there's time that we can get you in before September 16th, because we don't have a lot of time. What is the business model for Eagle Point Funding? It's very straightforward. To work together for 9 months for an unlimited amount of grant submissions, we will ask for a $48,000 consultancy fee and a 5% success fee. The consultancy fee divided to 2 payments, so 2 payments of $24,000 for the total of $48,000, and a 5% success fee only on the dollars we help you get. If you got it with somebody else, if you're able to get the procurement contract outside of us, if we didn't apply for it and you apply for it yourself, we don't get the success fee on it. That's our business model. For each of the government funding securities, Eagle Point going to take some percentage of the funding. James, yes, we are 5% success fee only on dollars that came in through your door. Is the funding applicable for companies past the Series A funding stages? Yes, 100%. It's a matter of, does your product and development relevant for them? So you can be, let's say you're listed on the stock exchange. It depends on the program, because you might not be a small business. However, you might still be eligible for a broad agency announcement. So please email me at yoav@Eagle Point Funding, or scan the QR code right now and let's book a meeting. If you're unable to get the time, schedule a call and then reach out and see if there's something that we can do. So that's the model. That's how we work. These are pretty much the costs that we have. They're not very negotiable. Maybe if you want to make it to the September 16th deadline, we might be able to better help when it comes to cash flow and payment structure. But besides that, it's 48,000 and a 5% success fee. So that was me. These were the opportunities. I'm wondering if people in the crowd have any more questions. Nada was able to answer that. Another question that usually comes up is what happens after we sign a contract? So after we sign a contract and we've decided that you're relevant, we're both excited to do it, within 72 hours, you get introduced to the team members that are going to be working with you, meaning that you're going to be introduced. Here's the grant consultant, here's the team leader. You get an actual team of grant writers that's working with you with one point of contact, and their job is to understand your tech, be a project manager and telling you exactly what materials we need, your help on the technical writing, stuff that you need to send us about the company, but proofread. So between now till October 22nd, we're going to be able to do the DoD cycle or the National Science Foundation or Army Applications Lab, but this is the process. And then after we've done with the first proposals, we're going to go again and again and again. So like a Pez dispenser, we're going to go after as many as possible. Is Eagle Point Funding also working on green energy or carbon removal funding opportunities? Of course. Environmental tech, green tech is picking up extremely in the past few months since we had kind of a change in leadership. And funding agency we saw from an Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Energy are all things that are extremely relevant. What you saw from the, I think it was 2 DoD cycles ago, the Air Force came out and said the DoD is one of the largest consumers of fossil fuels. We need energy sources that are more sustainable, but also more durable. We can use them in different environments and can help us in logistics and supply chains. All of these things are opportunities and interests that are extremely relevant for the NASA, Department of Energy, and more. So thank you. Thank you for anybody who's joining. Vitali, William, thank you so much. Bernard, Greg, David, it's awesome to see you. David, the other David, Doug, it's great seeing you. Any other questions? Don't see any calendar availability before the 16th. Shall I follow up over the phone? Yes, sit here. If you can't find something by the 16th, call me or email me at yoav@eaglepointfunding.com. I'd be happy to answer. So folks, thank you very much. You've been great. And I'd love to reach out, speak to you, see if we can work together sometime soon. Thank you.